Greetings and salutations, everybody. It is Zach of Darkon Entertainment, and I am here with a co-host so far, being the only one, that being Arkham Knight Rider. Say hi there, Arkham.
Hello.
So, yes, as you see by the title alone, we are going to be responding to an article that is, funnily enough, by The Guardian of all places, talking about how that Shrek, that classic piece of DreamWorks cinema that everybody knows and loves, is unfunny and overrated. I did not actually.
Contrarian mode.
What?
Contrarian mode.
Indeed, it almost would seem like that. Like they're just being contrarians just for the sake of being contrarians. But nonetheless, we're going to entertain some of the arguments, if one can even call them arguments, as we are going to be getting to this, and see what is it they have to say about this. First off, I guess we could just ask for the sake of conversation. Arkham, what do you have as far as plans on YouTube goes? How's it going for you on that?
I'm
on your
currently
end?
making I'm making a script writing a script right now that's been kind of stopped periodically by just college. So it's taking a lot longer than it should. I'm also been just having to find a good way to edit. All right, here we go.
I see. I finally finished the Last Jedi portion of my ranking the script for my ranking video of the Star Wars movies, all 9 of them, and so I only have one left to go, and it's deemed by many to be the absolute worst of the entire anthology, with maybe exception to Last Jedi in some circumstances, The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah.
What is your opinion? Like, which do you like? Which do you dislike more? Like Last Jedi?
I don't
Rise of
hate
Skywalker?
Last Jedi. I think it's just whatever. Rise of Skywalker, I think, is actually a bad movie. So yeah.
See, here's my thing. I like Rise of Skywalker is like insultingly stupid, yeah, but Last Jedi I find to be more mean-spirited than really any Star Wars movie out there, including Rise of Skywalker. That's probably the biggest thing about Last Jedi for me, and why I would, spoiler alert, rank it as probably my least favorite amongst all the Star Wars.
Yeah, I understand that.
Force Awakens, on most recent rewatch of The Force Awakens, I actually liked it a little bit better than I did beforehand. On a recent rewatch, I realized of how much more dignified of a character General Hux is, and that one at least. Of course, Last Jedi kind of shits the bed on the portrayal of General Hux, and Rise of Skywalker, yeah, really even makes him look worse. And of course, Snoke as well is a little bit more calm, cool, and collected in 7 as compared to 8. In 8, they seem to be kind of trying to repeat the same megalomaniacal, over-the-top, hammed-up personality that Darth Sidious had in Episode 6 and 3, but it did not really work out for Snoke, in my opinion. Sup, everyone? Did anyone see the new He-Man series? Asks Conundrum in live chat. I have not, Conundrum. Say what
I haven't. I haven't watched. I have no intentions to watch at this time. Because I still have to see Godzilla Singular Point. I'm still waiting for Kingdom to come out for the War for Cybertron trilogy. And I have to watch the Fear Street. So if I'm going to my Netflix stuff, there's like a few things I have to watch beforehand. I also have to watch Spiral, the latest Saw film. I've been delaying that for way too long now, which is weird because I binged all 8 films, rewatched all 8 films like a couple months ago. And now I'm just getting to Spiral. So maybe this tonight. Well, not tonight. Probably tonight or tomorrow. I think I'll get to Spiral. Hopefully.
Spiral is a title in the Saw.
It's the newest one out with Chris Rock.
Oh, Chris Rock in a Saw movie. Interesting. So anyway, to sort of get on with the subject here, The Guardian. The Guardian is mainly known for having political takes, for reporting about the news and whatnot. Hard left website. And even though as far left as they are, I find them to be, I don't rely on them a whole lot, but I still find them more credible than places like Washington Post and New York Times, at least. But sometimes they can have takes. Like I remember like back in the old days of when that Sargon of Akkad still did This Week in Stupid on his main channel, that the Guardian would have some stupid takes every now and again. And here they are actually delving into entertainment media instead of politics, talking about how Shrek at 20, an unfunny and overrated low for blockbuster animation. So, what do you think about the Shrek movie and the Shrek franchise as a whole, Arkham?
I love the first movie a lot. I think the first film is great. The second film is a lot of fun as well. I haven't seen the second film in ages. I've seen the first one more recently than the second, so I remember it more.
Yeah.
The third one, I think I watched a couple times as a kid. I remember really not liking it very much. The fourth one, I've only watched once. I remember thinking it was decent, but I just don't remember a single thing about it. The only thing I really remember about it, well, no, I remember stuff about it, clips and whatever, but the only thing I remember from my childhood about it was that I got like these little mini figures of it from the movies. That's all I remember. But yeah, my overall thoughts on the Shrek franchise, besides the third one, it's mostly a solid little series.
Yep. I like the first one, and probably that's probably the one that I like the best, mostly because it's the one I remember the most. Although I remember having fun with Shrek 2 as well. And if somebody was to really press me, I probably could agree. Yeah, it's better than Shrek, the first Shrek. So it's whatever. Shrek 3, I remember whenever I watched it, that is very tedious and monotonous to try and get through. It's quite a slog.
Yeah, it's not very good from my memories.
Yeah, not as witty, not as snappy. It just felt like it was dragging a whole lot more. And Shrek 4, I remember it just mostly being dark, which that's an okay thing, especially if that's more your thing. And I remember like the character arc that Shrek goes throughout the whole thing. And like going towards the end of the movie, he of course says, you know what the best part of it all was? Referring to the relationship with Fiona. The best part of it was being able to relive falling in love with you. Whatever the exact line was. That's like right before he dies or just fades away, you know?
Yeah. I remember, yeah, I kind of remember Shrek 4. I forgot what I gave it. Hold on. Yeah, let me look at my letterbox. Shrek. Just look up Shrek. I'm going to take the YouTube off for now. I'm going to take that YouTube off. Yes.
Set1 1000 says, LOL, that reminds me of a joke I read. Do you know what Bruce Lee and Donkey from Shrek have in common? They both enter the dragon. Wow, that's pretty bad. Like, what about the movie Puss in Boots? Asks Conundrum. Puss in Boots. I thought it was okay, but it wasn't that memorable, especially when you compare it to Shrek's 1 and 2.
I think Puss in Boots was one of the few movies that my family and I just quit watching after a while. Like, we were watching it together, and we saw the film, and we were like, okay, we're not entertained by this.
Yeah, what I remember most about it is that the trailers made it look pretty epic. And then when I go to actually watching the movie, it was a bit of a letdown. It wasn't as epic as the trailers kind of led off to be. But it's whatever. That's marketing for you. But so, as The Guardian says here, Shrek at 20, an unfunny and overrated low for blockbuster animation. The fairy tale comedy was a hit with critics and audiences, but its toilet humor, glibness, and shoddy animation mark it out as a misfire. Shoddy animation?
I mean, there are times when the animation is a little bit wonky looking, but then again, that's just kind of because, well, it was 2001.
Yeah, it was 2001. Like
Well,
the
I
animation.
can understand like you complain about like the human characters because well, most of them they're not stylized, look awful.
I will admit that some of the movements look kind of robotic in hindsight, but overall, I thought it was pretty good for its time, and it works still. It's at
Yeah.
least fairly well textured, fairly colorful,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's a very, even though it moves kind of robotic, it's still fast enough to keep you on your toes, and I think it's like better than what, or at least comparatively as good as what Pixar was coming out at the time, like Toy Story 1, Bug's Life, and Toy Story 2, and Monsters Inc. at the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Uh, you go saying shoddy animation. Are you saying that because you thought it was bad for its time, or you just like looking, or you just having the benefit of hindsight and being all like, this animation was pretty bad, and not realizing that it's a product of its own time? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Shrek has an outhouse with a working toilet. Okay.
That's a statement, apparently.
I don't know what your point is with that, but yeah, it's a parody. It's supposed to be making fun of the idea of outhouses and whatnot, and that is one thing that was kind of jarring about Shrek, the first Shrek, and even more so about Shrek 2, is of how much that the movie combines modern technology with medieval stuff. Like, you have people in this medieval fantasy sort of realm handling microphones to talk real loudly to audiences.
Yeah.
Not only that, but you also have people with the rapid fire, fully automatic crossbows, like the guards at Shrek at that one point in Shrek 2.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was a bit jarring at first, but I think that's supposed to be part of the. That's intentional. It's supposed to signify how ridiculous the movie and concept is.
Yeah. All right. So we got.
Is not part of the film's cynical brand of irreverence. It is not part of the film's cynical brand of irreverence that an ogre's latrine is supported by modern plumbing.
I think they talked about the beginning scene where Shrek takes a giant dump in a porta potty or whatever, and he like that scene. I think they're referring to that scene.
Yeah, I know what they're referring to. They're like that's going to happen. What a load of somebody once told me.
Never sing that again. All right, let's continue. Never sing that again.
I love you too, Arkham. But anyway, what was I gonna say? I think you're just overthinking the. I think you're just overthinking that. I think
I'm overthinking that probably, but it was just like
intentional. It's humor, parody, so forth. What were you saying, Arkham?
Yeah, I think I agree. I was just right there. Continue.
And it's certainly not consistent with the hygiene of a swamp-dwelling beast who bathes in mud, brushes his teeth in slime, and boasts of a killer weed rat stew.
Oh yeah, no, this is definitely talking about the beginning. This is definitely talking about the beginning of the movie.
Well, yeah. No shit. I mean,
I thought for a second, maybe it was coincidence. No, they are talking at the beginning of that.
Are you going to like mention any points that is actually legitimate? Like, I know that there isn't anything real practical or realistic with the world building of this world. Again, the combination of modern technology and medieval sort of stuff can be kind of jarring at times, but who cares? They're not like building and they're not going for anything in regards of realism. If you wanted to like talk about How to Train Your Dragon and how they like have, I don't know, work in plumbing or something like that, then you'd have a bit more of a point because they're trying to tell their own story as opposed to be a parody of, fairy tales, whereas Shrek is trying to be a parody of fairy tales. So it's just trying to have fun with itself.
Yeah.
But after our lime green hero literally wipes his ass with the fairy tale ending, it was apparently decided that the film needed that emphatic flushing sound before the Smash Mouth single All-Star kicked in and the introductory montage could commence. I mean,
That was just the beginning of the movie, like a weird description of the beginning of the film. That was not a criticism.
yep. 20 years later, that flushing sound seems to signify the moment when blockbuster animation circled the drain.
Well, I mean, to be fair, though, modern animation is terrible, so they're not entirely wrong about that.
Well, I would mark that like at the 2010s. The 2000s was still pretty solid with
Oh yeah, in the
Pixar was
2000s.
still on top of their game. Even the first Cars wasn't that bad in the grand scheme of things, but Pixar was about to release Incredibles, Ratatouille, Wall-E, and and so on and so forth. DreamWorks, after the releasing of Shrek, yeah, they had Shark Tale, but on the other hand, they were also going to eventually come out with How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda in the later 2000s. So
I'd still say Madagascar is one of their better ones. The trilogy of Madagascar films.
well, yeah, even Madagascar has some quality to it, although it's not the absolute best. But nonetheless, to find that, to take things like that not into consideration when you're trying to judge the whole medium of blockbuster animation just seems to be bullshit, quite frankly. Shrek is a terrible movie. Well, yeah,
That's a very, very, very unique statement. I could probably find that same statement pretty much elsewhere, but yes, let's continue.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man, Mister. What's the name of this guy?
Scott Tobias.
Oh, Scott Tobias. Okay, gotcha, Mister Scott Tobias. It's not funny. Again, that's your opinion. It looks awful. Have you even seen awful? Like, do you want to like compare this? Do you want to compare this to how the humans looked in the first Toy Story movie? Like, this looks leagues better than what the first Toy Story had going for us. And not to mention, it also looks better than Shark Tale that DreamWorks would release a couple of years later.
It also looks better than like half of their stuff now with the DreamWorks. Like,
better than Trolls?
Yes, better than Trolls.
Just to go down the list, better than Turbo?
Yes, the Boss Baby.
Better than Boss Baby. Yeah, Boss Baby. I mean, Boss Baby just looks way too plasticky and cartoony.
I think I saw a little bit of it on an airplane, and I hated it.
I don't know how much I hated it. In fact, I have my own predictions and hopes, at least, that Boss Baby 2 will at least be better than the first Boss Baby.
Has Boss Baby 2 already come out?
Yeah, it's in theaters.
Oh.
I haven't
I legit thought it has yet to be released.
Yeah, no, it's already released. So I saw the trailers, and by just the looks of the trailers, especially the ones that go sort of hinting at how the brothers like sort of separate from one another, they did not become best buds throughout their adulthood and drifted apart. I think that like shows a little bit of an interesting dynamic that people could relate to a little bit more. So that by that alone, I think there is potential for it to possibly be better than the first Boss Baby, but I do not know if I find it worth like scrounging out the dollars to see it in theaters.
Yes.
I'll probably just wait until it gets released somewhere for me to rent it out or whatever.
I just didn't like the first one, so again, like, why would I bother with this? But yeah, let's continue.
Yep. It would influence many unfunny, awful-looking computer-animated comedies that copied its formula of glib self-reference and sickly sweet sentimentality. I mean, they're not wrong.
Well, of course, there's going to be a bunch of copycats. When something successful comes out, I mean, I know it's the obvious statement, but when something successful comes out, there's going to be a billion different copycats of it. Of course.
Yeah.
Not all are going to be good.
I mean, is that really Shrek's fault in of itself? And does that really like drag on the quality of the movie Shrek in of itself? Scott Tobias, I have to have a hard disagree with you on that. But to sort of entertain this idea that you present to us, you're not really wrong, because if anybody else out there goes watching Shea Frilla's productions whenever he goes talking about Shrek, primarily his like if you go watching his review of the first Shrek movie. He goes explaining pretty much that DreamWorks has that they tried to copy the success of Shrek in Shark Tale, but yet Shark Tale wasn't so successful, and they did not execute the elements of Shrek correctly.
I think they've been copying Shrek, like neutering Shrek throughout the entire. Like they're basically just taking that same formula that Shrek has, just neutering it more and more in their later films. That's at least the intention feel I get throughout watching some of DreamWorks films, whenever I bother to watch them.
Yep.
Like I tried rewatching. I think I rewatched. Forgot to log it in, but I ended up rewatching because I like the show, the Penguins of Madagascar movie. And it's like all the things that make the show funny were not there. Because again, it wants to be the kind of that Shrek formula, but just so neutered down, it's not even worth it. Which is sad because there's some like neat little animation moments in that movie, but it's just
Right. Conundrum says originally Shrek was supposed to be voiced by Chris Farley, and Sent111000 says Chris Farley would have been cool. Yeah, I heard about that. But unfortunately, he died before he could like finish recording, so they got Mike Myers. And he had an epiphany at one point to want to do Shrek in a Scottish accent, and then the world was changed from then on. It works, though. I gotta say, it works. Anyway, 3 of those terrible movies were sequels to Shrek, and one was, well, the Shrek 2 was not bad. Shrek 3, yeah, sure, that one was bad. And Shrek 4, it's kind of
it's average.
Yeah, Shrek 4 is not as bad as you're making it out to be either. And one was a spin-off with a sequel in the works. The Curse as eased but not lifted. Spin-off with the sequel in the works. Oh, you're talking about Puss in Boots. I gotcha. Except here's the thing. Puss in Boots did not take the same formula as Shrek. Like, there wasn't as many cultural references, and there wasn't as much crude humor in Puss in Boots as compared to Shrek. So I don't think your argument really works in that regard.
Yeah.
And yet Shrek was a sensation with critics and audiences in 2001. After flailing in its early efforts to keep up with Disney, the animation house of which its co-founder, Jeffrey Katzenberg, was credited with reviving, DreamWorks had finally hit pay dirt, raising the possibility that it might become a viable challenger to established major studios, which, let's be honest, they are. Even the stuffed shirts at the Cannes Film Festival, who usually separated Hollywood's summer fare from its official selections, brought it into the competition slate, where it premiered alongside new work from world masters like David Lynch, Jean-Luc Godard, Hussau, however you pronounce that, Hussein, and Jacques Rivette. Liv Ullman's jury left it empty-handed, alas. It's hard to
I'm gonna say this right now. David Lynch is not that good of a director. I liked Mulholland Drive and I liked Elephant Man, but it's like
David Lynch. I think
he was the guy who's responsible for Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks. That's a literal movie.
Twin Peaks is a movie and it's a TV show. Well, it's mainly a TV show.
Oh, okay. Well, I only know of Twin Peaks by the restaurant, so I was all like, wait, what?
He also produced the 80s. He also directed the 80s Dune movie.
Oh, yeah. The 1980s Dune movie. That was really behind its time, let's be honest. Because when I first watched it, I thought I was watching something from the 1970s. Come to my surprise, it was released like one or even
84.
2. Yeah, it was released a year after Return of the Jedi. Yeah. Yep. So either Return of the Jedi was ahead of its time or Dune was really behind its time. I think I want to go with the latter opinion. It was really boring and pretty bad.
Oh, yeah. Someone mentioned Eraserhead. Yeah, I watched Eraserhead as well and didn't like it. I thought it was crummy. Eraserhead's one of those art house movies that felt like film snobs will like say is one of the greatest things ever. This is kind of it.
Okay. Don't have anybody that joined the StreamYard call aside from us. Anyway, It's hard to account for why Shrek hit the cultural moment as squarely as it did, other than, people seem to enjoy it. Well, Shea Furlow's production goes explaining as to why that is. It's because people were getting tired of the Disney formula of cutesy animals and characters in the movie singing musical numbers and clean cut sort of fairy tale stories, and Shrek kind of goes against that formula. That's why that was so successful. It came in the midst of an oversaturation of one formula of movie, so it provided a different formula of movie that could compete with that traditional formula of fairy tale animated movies. So it's not that hard to understand. You just need to really pay attention and analyze filmmaking at the time, 90s and early 2000s, that is. Or why it will be celebrated in 20th anniversary pieces other than this one. But it's worth pointing out how comprehensively bad its legacy remains. Again, that's not a knock on the movie itself. Tell us why the actual movie itself is bad. Opening up the floodgates for other major studios to pile celebrities into recording booths, feed them committee-polished one-liners, and put those lines in the mouths of sassy CGI animals or human-ish residents of the uncanny valley. When you go watching Shrek, Arkham, do you get uncanny valley sort of feels?
I mean, from the background characters, maybe, but it's not like the foreground characters.
Yeah, I don't really get uncanny valley.
I think it's a generalization for many animation studios that attempted to capitalize on Shrek, which there were a lot, or DreamWorks in general. But yeah, no, there's just a lot of those.
Oh, I just got the tone right there.
What was it?
Oh, actually, crap.
What?
Hey, Conundrum, how are you?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Dark Sanctum proudly presents to you the host with the most of the world, the Dark Conservatarian.
Right. Hey,
I just been watching this article. I'm just going to say this: comparing it's like the guys comparing DreamWorks and the other shitty animation studios that came after it. It's like comparing Disney with Don Bluth animations.
Okay, I don't know. I kind of I don't know how to approach this. I kind of feel like I'm being a little bit put on the spot here. Conundrum. I thought you said you weren't interested.
Well, the reason I wasn't interested, I donated plasma and I was feeling sick.
Well,
now I'm feeling a lot better after a little bit of a rest.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just so as to move forward, can I trust you two to not fight it out with each other or anything like that?
I mean, yeah. I'm fine.
I'm okay.
Sorry, I don't know what to say, but I guess as far as I personally am concerned, it's all right that you can come on, Conundrum. But anyway, so to continue on with the actual subject matter here. Worse yet, it encouraged a destructive, know-it-all attitude toward the classics that made an earnest engagement with them seem like a waste of time. Those once upon a times were now rendered stodgy and lame, literally toilet paper.
Good.
I mean, that's kind of the point of it. It was supposed to be a parody of the traditional fairy tale story sort of formula.
Yeah, I agree.
The replacement chiefly a flatulent ogre voiced by Mike Myers, who deploys the same accent that carried him through the all things Scottish sketches on Saturday Night Live. Myers was only just past peak of his popularity when he replaced fellow SNL alum Chris Farley as Shrek, still riding high off 2 hit Austin Powers movies and still powerful enough to get DreamWorks to shrug its shoulders over allowing him to redo the part in Scottish. And it worked. What do you want us to say? How are you saying that's bad? I mean, the thing about him farting or being flatulent is and having a Scottish accent. That's sort of a key thing about the formula of that being Shrek.
That defined the character. That's how you realize Shrek, with that Scottish accent and that crude, flatulent humor.
Scottish. What?
If taking that away from the character is like taking a major quality about the character of Shrek itself.
Mm-hmm. For years, Shrek had seemed like a disaster in the making. Writers assigned to polish up the script likened it to the Gulag. But the conceptual hook of its fairy tale universe, combined with the buddy chemistry of Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy as Donkey and Cameron Diaz as Fiona, and Up for Anything Damsel in Distress, was stronger than they could have realized. Okay. It sounds like that you're complimenting the movie. You're not exactly making a knock on the movie and pointing out as to how it's supposedly bad. In fact, the roadmap for Shrek had already been drawn years earlier with The Princess Bride, a fractured fairy tale that found the right balance between knowing, gently absurdist plays on storybook tradition and a sincere affirmation of their power. Except Shrek kind of took that a step up with the whole parody and, commentary of fairy tales sort of angle. It was being a full-fledged parody rather than just, I don't know, poking little fun jabs at it like Princess Bride.
Come on! The whole scene when they went to Duloc was a huge jab at Disney, and that was funny as hell.
Oh, right, because Duloc was a representation of Disneyland, right?
Yeah, and the whole one line I love is, "Wow, that's a big tower. Are you saying this folklore person is trying to compensate for something?"
So Walt was trying to compensate for something, and Bob Iger at the time, was it Bob Iger, or is Bob Iger the current CEO? I keep on forgetting that.
Michael Eisner.
Michael Eisner was CEO at the time,
Yep.
90s and early 2000s.
Yep, it was Michael Eisner.
Oh, my bad. All right. There is even a scene in Shrek that nods to the torture machine in the earlier film, with the evil Lord Farquaad, John Lithgow, working over the gingerbread man for information. But the balance in Shrek is off on both ends. There's an excess of anachronisms and buddy movie riffs from Myers and Murphy that have little relation to the backdrop, and a woe-is-me soppiness to the love story between two lonely, misunderstood freaks. Nothing screams unearned gravitas like slipping in a cover of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Also, may I point out that Princess Bride and Shrek are trying to accomplish very different things entirely. I mean, you could one of them was basically don't judge a book by its cover because it's actually a really fun swashbuckling adventure, and the other one is a complete goof on fairy tales.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing screams unearned gravitas. I mean, what do I say to this exactly? The relationship, the developing relationship between Shrek and Fiona, and even Shrek and Donkey, were all well-paced and well-developed. Schaeferella's Productions explained this a whole lot better, but Donkey is basically the glue that holds this whole relationship together. He sees this grumpy old ogre, and he ends up actually tapping into his inner person, getting underneath the layers, if you will.
Yeah,
the onion layers.
Yeah, the onion layers. Exactly. And when I don't know, it would take me a little while longer. That'd probably be too tedious for y'all to want to stick around for me to actually explain how it worked out.
believe me, in Shrek 3, he was, when Shrek was afraid of having kids, Donkey was there talking about how kids were wonderful.
Okay, fair enough. I guess that's one thing we can credit to Shrek 3, even though we were kind of ragging on it a little bit earlier.
Oh, I hate Shrek 3, but I do give a kernel of goodness when there is one.
Right. The most curious element of Shrek is how uninterested it seems to be in the fairy tale universe it creates. Bullshit! It was just the, it was the baseline. It was just the starting show. Yeah, sure, there wasn't a whole lot of world building, but they go expanding on that in the sequels. That's the whole reason why sequels are invented. This is like about as ridiculous as saying that Star Wars is uninterested in the universe it creates.
You're back. This guy is bashing a movie that basically lays the foundation for the future movies. It doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, like what do you want them to go? Do you want them to go like to 2, 3 extra different locations than they already did? You're not making sense. In recent years,
at least the Shrek sequels were better than the Disney direct-to-video sequels.
Oh yeah, indeed. Although credit to Aladdin, in Aladdin 3, they did do a bit more world building in that one.
Oh yeah.
In recent years, as studios that have merged and brands have been further reinforced, we're seeing plenty of eagerness for companies to trot out their IP. Hello, Space Jam: A New Legacy. By the way, have either of you guys said or seen that movie?
No, I have no intentions of watching.
I do not want to support King James.
Right, LeBron James. But there is much greater promise in a film that's about fairy tale favorites under threat, from nursery rhymes to the Brothers Grimm. Some of these creatures are assembled in mass detentions by Lord Farquaad, who exiles them to Shrek's swamp and Princess Fiona's dilemma. Imprisoned in a dragon-guarded castle tower recalls Sleeping Beauty. But once Shrek and Donkey cross
Wait. I have a question, though. There was no dragon guarding tower in Sleeping Beauty. If memory serves, the witch, well, it's judging with the Disney cartoon, the witch turned into the dragon.
Yeah, there wasn't
up against the guy trying to save her.
Yeah, it wasn't a real dragon, but I can see the parallels that you're trying to draw here, but that's exactly part of what Shrek was trying to do. Draw some parallels to fairy tales and subvert the expectations of those fairy tales. Like when Shrek first approaches the body of Fiona, and when she's puckering up her lips, and you kind of expect for him to like go for the kiss or whatever, just as fairy tale stereotypes go. But instead, no, he's all like, wake up, let's get down to business. Come on, are you Princess Fiona? Are you Princess Fiona? Hello there in the chat, Red Feather, by the way. Oh my god. Do these people have nothing better to do but bitch about children's movies? I guess so, and it doesn't make sense. A lot of their criticism does. In fact, we're getting kind of past this article fairly quickly. We might just do another thing before we go off air, like maybe respond to the other Mortal Kombat review that I had queued up. But once Shrek and Donkey cross the kingdom on a quest to bring Fiona to Farquaad, the storybook references are all but abandoned. Even when Robin Hood and his merry men appear in the woods, the film blows past that boring old mythos in order to pay homage to The Matrix and Riverdance. What's left is an all-ages film that's somehow more crude and juvenile in its appeals to adults than children. The grown-ups in the room can snicker knowingly at Farquaad's name and the repeated references to his penis size, while the kids are left with fart jokes and the wanton diminishment of timeless characters and stories. Apparently, this person doesn't like parodies.
And the thing is, I like that one scene where Shrek was talking about how he doesn't like being an ogre and how he gets judged for being an ogre.
Also, having these characters isn't the fact that these characters like Shrek and Donkey been pop culture icons. Technically, aren't they characters that children can cherish and all that? Oh no, but it has to be the ones that are previously established because new things can't be new thing bad. It has to be old and creaky in order to be good.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly this.
My storybook character type mentality.
Yep. I do not know what this person means by wanton diminishment of timeless characters and stories. Like, the only way that logic could be applied is if you have a long-running franchise in which the character just gets worse and worse without it making any reasonable sense. Like, for example, Luke Skywalker, when he's this enlightened and optimistic sort of character to where that he can see the good in Darth Vader. But then by episode 8, he's somehow doesn't have that trait ever at all, to the point to where that he tries to kill his own nephew. That would be a diminishment of a timeless character. But this is a parody. This isn't mean to take like the same exact character and take an unironic shit on it. No, this is taking a character or designing a character that is based off of an old character is a way to ironically, poke fun at the older character. You're saying, though, Conundrum?
With the Luke Skywalker thing, it's like enlightened hero to an old man drinking blue cow milk kegs.
Although I think the milk was cheesy and rather ridiculous, but that was kind of the least of my concerns, now, for that matter.
But the other thing I said, Shrek had some really deep moments in it, and that's why I like it a lot.
Uh-huh.
Like, one part is when Shrek didn't want to talk to Donkey. Donkey said, "You're my friend, and for friends we were supposed to fix things."
Because that's what friends do. They forgive each other.
Yeah.
Yep, another example of the development in chemistry between Shrek and Donkey that works.
And Donkey was the one who told Shrek that Fiona liked him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So last year, the National Film Registry added Shrek to the Library of Congress. That's weird.
I remember when that happened. Yeah, I remember when that happened.
That's weird, and I don't know if that's necessary, but okay. Which seals its canonization, but it's remarkable how much of an early aughts relic it's become. An amber preserved monument to phenomena. Mike Myers, Smash Mouth, Michael Flatley. That hasn't stood the test of time. And Mike Myers, yeah, he's he has
fallen apart. So in terms of his career, that makes sense.
I mean, you're just stating the obvious. You're not really substantiating anything as how it's bad.
I mean, by that logic, there's plenty of celebrities who are big in their heyday who are now just slumming it. I mean, look at Bruce Willis.
Look at the late Marlon Brando.
Yeah, that's true.
God, what was I gonna say? I mean, I go looking at this guy's quote unquote arguments, and I think I've seen better attempts to dissect a movie from cinematic venom at Lord of the Rings with this older review of Lord of the Rings that is than this right here. That's how weak this is.
This article, I've seen better arguments written by geeks and gamers.
No opinion, no comment. Even the film's referential style looks absolutely slow and unhip next to the wiring pop Cuisinarts of Lord and Miller Productions, like the Lego Movie and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, or even IP-heavy Disney fare like Wreck-It Ralph and its sequel. In the end, Shrek didn't save DreamWorks from selling itself off a few years later. It didn't extend Myers' career past a hard expiration date, and Katzenberg went on to found Quibi. Yet the entire enterprise is better left in the past. I will say that there is a bit of disappointment with Shrek as to how it kind of petered out the way it did. Even Shrek 4, even though it was decent, it did not feel as grandiose as, say, Avengers Endgame. I mean,
it's like it's another It's a Wonderful Life kind of story. That's where we're gonna end this. Okay.
yeah. Not that it was totally bad, but all the same.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Shrek 4 was a pretty decent send off, but it had a lot of flaws in it.
Yeah, it wasn't that great, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to like get rambly and repetitive, and so I'm just gonna move on, I guess. All right. So, just because of the fact that I did not have anything like really lined up, well, this is a 47-minute video, so I don't know if we'll like tackle this whole thing all in one go.
Let's try to find a video that's a little less shorter because I'm trying to see. Wait, has Conundrum seen any Mortal Kombat movie?
Yeah, I have, and I liked it.
All right. Hold on. I'm trying to find like a.
Maybe there's something else. Okay, I'm gonna stop screen sharing just for right now. Red Feather says hashtag not my Shrek. I thought the point was that everyone labeled ogres as terrible creatures, but it turns out they're not all that bad. A child could write a better article with terrible grammar and punctuation to boot, right? I like Shrek 2 better. Yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah, Shrek 2 had the great more references, like Fairy Tale Land was like Hollywood. I actually liked that. That was funny, actually.
I guess there is another idea that we could go for that would be a whole lot shorter, like reviewing Shea Furlow's Productions reviews of Onward.
I haven't seen Onward, so
I haven't.
Oh shit! I forgot that you said that a little bit earlier. Crap. You don't have Disney Plus or anything like that? Arthur?
I have Disney Plus. I just haven't watched it.
What, Conundrum?
I have Disney Plus. I only watched The Mandalorian. That's about it.
Oh,
The most recent thing I've watched on Disney Plus was the Phineas and Ferb, the latest Phineas and Ferb movie.
Oh, how was it?
I loved him. It was great.
I liked Phineas and Ferb like back whenever I used to watch it.
Well, Darkon, since you were messaging me about Tailspin, let's talk about that. How much do you like it?
Oh, yeah. Why not? Who says that we need to do find something to respond to? Let's talk about Tailspin for a bit. Just talking about old cartoons, I guess. But Tailspin, I gone searching up a little bit about it on Google and whatnot, and Shere Khan apparently is not in it as much as I would have hoped to. Like the catalog shows that he is only in a total of 11 episodes of that entire series. But it's whatever. I realize that Shere Khan is like not the focus, and he isn't like the main anti-hero that Baloo has to face off.
Anti-hero is a different villain.
Well, antagonist. Let me put it that way. He's not the main antagonist.
I never thought of him as an antagonist. He was more of a businessman.
Yeah. He was sort of an in-between sort of guy. I just like the line delivery from the actor, for one thing, and how smooth and intimidating at the same time a character he is. And you just go wondering, what is he going to be doing next? Like, is he going? I'm almost like expecting at some point for him to like turn evil. I'm only on episode 15, by the way, as far as rewatching of Tailspin goes. So don't go spoiling anything for me. But so far, I am kind of the expectation that eventually he's going to turn evil or something, or he'll turn evil for a little bit, and there is something that completely changes his motive to where that he turns the tables on the actual bad guys within whatever appropriate episode that he is in. Who knows?
But the one thing I like is the father-son relationship between Baloo and Kit.
Right, it was either episode 13 or 14. I think those are like the best type. Well, one of the best types of characters within movies in general is this upbeat, laid back, and sort of funny guy. And why that they are the best is because when things get actually serious, you get to see a more serious with them, and it's just all like, holy shit! I didn't think that he'd actually. I'll be going for a bit. We'll be back soon. Okay. See you later, Arkham. But I see sort of that same kind of character in Baloo as I do with God, what is his name? It's the one blonde hipster dude, or no, not hipster necessarily, but the one dumb guy from Last Man Standing.
Oh, not William H. Macy, right? No, that's from. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Last Man Standing. Oh, it's like some of the characters that John Candy portrayed.
Yeah.
Uncle Buck is a good one.
Oh god, I feel bad for forgetting this. Darkon. Kyle, that's his name. Kyle is the name of the character from Last Man Standing I'm trying to think of. He's just all laid back and just sort of you find it really hard to try and provoke the guy, but when you do provoke this sort of character and tap into the more serious side of them, it's all like, holy shit, now I'm invested.
I could perfectly say Baloo reminds me a lot of the animated Uncle Buck.
Uncle Buck, and thus is why you like nicknamed yourself that in my Discord server, I guess.
Yeah. And plus,
what series is Uncle Buck from?
It's a John Candy movie. It's a really good movie. You should watch it. It was done by the director was John Hughes.
What'd you say it's called again?
Uncle Buck.
No, the series that he's in.
It's a movie called Uncle Buck.
Oh, it's just called Uncle Buck?
Yeah, and the director of the movie was John Hughes.
1989 film?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, John Candy as Buck Russell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. The thing is, I also like how Rebecca became almost like a mother figure to Kid also.
She has her moments, but I think like the main characters that I really like throughout the series is Kit, Baloo, and Shere Khan. Just personally, anyways.
You don't like Louie?
He hasn't. Well, he's fun to watch as well, but I guess I haven't seen enough of him to actually develop an opinion.
Yeah.
You know what's the one thing that I remember most from Tailspin is the one episode of where that there's a snake named Clang. I haven't got to that part yet as far as rewatching goes, but I'm looking forward to rewatching the one or few episodes that feature Clang.
Yeah, you know who he's supposed to be.
Tim Curry?
No, it's supposed to be Ka from the Jungle Book.
Oh, except he's got metal arms.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The character I really loved from the show was, besides Baloo and Kit, is Don Carnage.
Oh, yeah, Don Carnage. Yeah, I guess he's a fun villain to watch, if not a little bit too bumbling at times. I don't know. I just feel like that it could have had like a more competent villain than Don Carnage as the main antagonist.
And don't forget about the Zamboni. I'm not going to spoil that.
Zamboni. Is there like a Zamboni driver?
No, they're like these warthogs that are almost like commies.
Oh yeah. Actually, no. I already passed that one episode.
They're funny.
Yeah, he's a little bit more, or at least he comes off anyways, as a little bit more dignified and competent than Don Carnage. But I don't know. I just something almost gives me a sort of Mr. Xanatos sort of vibe with Shere Khan, I guess.
Yeah.
Is the main thing that I like about Shere Khan. Like I haven't watched a whole lot of Gargoyles, but Xanatos, especially with Loudmouth's descriptions of him, he seems like a very gray, mixed, and nuanced, and also competent and dignified villain.
Yeah. I'll say this with Shere Khan, he gives me that Lex Luthor type vibe.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I haven't watched enough of Lex Luthor, an animated series, to know that for sure. Yeah. Actually, I do remember that there is this one episode, or this one, I think it was a full-length movie even, of the animated Justice League series, of where that Lex Luthor has his own league of villains, and he's like looking to get some MacGuffin in the movie. Yeah. And by the end of it, he gets it, and he sacrifices himself to kill Darkseid.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the exact motive was, but that gun's showing a little bit more of a gray area of Lex Luthor.
The anti-life equation.
Sorry, what?
It was the anti-life equation.
Darkseid was the anti-life equation?
No, what Darkseid was looking for in the MacGuffin in that series, Darkseid was always looking for this equation called the anti-life equation. And Lex Luthor found the anti-life equation.
Okay. Is that something that comes popping up in the Snyder Cut Justice League?
No, it's actually from the comics.
Well, yeah, no. I'm sure it's like originally from the comics, but I haven't seen the Snyder Cut. And I was just wondering if maybe that's something that's being built up to, implied at least to be built up to in the Snyder Cut, sort of the same way that the Infinity Stones are built up or implied in the first Avengers.
Yeah, I don't think so, actually. I didn't see the Snyder Cut yet. But, all right. But I would say this, if you want to watch a continuation of Tailspin, the 2017 DuckTales actually does do a continuation of the Tailspin story.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the modern day DuckTales connects the old DuckTales and the Darkwing Duck and the Tailspin universes all together?
And Chip and Dale and Goof Troop. And Gargoyles.
Really?
And Gargoyles as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Gargoyles? No, not Gargoyles. I mean, come on, Gargoyles, it does not have anthropomorphic animals.
The thing is, the horse Manny was Goliath.
The what?
The horse Manny was Goliath. He gave up being Goliath to be a talking horse and stuff. It's so funny. He's like, that was my old life ago. I didn't want to be like that. I changed so much. It's voiced by Keith David also.
Wait. So Goliath, he went from being a horse to being a gargoyle, or he went from being a gargoyle to being a horse?
He went from being a gargoyle to a horse statue. It's actually funny, actually.
Now I'm starting to wonder about this series because I don't know. I haven't heard any opinions either way about the new DuckTales series, if it's like an abomination of its former self or if it is actually pretty good.
I'll say this. It's very good, actually.
Maybe I'll sometime watch it. Like, there's some other series that I've kind of tapped into. Like, have you checked out the new Monsters, Inc. series, Monsters at Work?
No, not yet.
I watched the first couple of episodes. Like the first episode, it was fairly charming, but the second episode was a little bit too obnoxious. Mostly because of the buddies that the main character, whose name is Tyler, by the way, he ends up working with. They're kind of a little bit overly goofy and obnoxious. The good parts of the movie seem to be with Mike and Sully, for one, and also just watching Tyler, like, basically facepalm himself trying to get through this life that he's been thrown into that he doesn't really want. That's mostly because of its relatability, but other than that, I'm almost finding some of the side characters to be a little bit too annoying. That's kind of sucking me out of it. Finishing off the second episode. Hopefully things will like pick up by the third or fourth episode, but I either way, I have yet to see.
Mm-hmm.
I've only like watched the second episode of Darkwing Duck so far. I've been like attracted more to Tailspin for some weird reason. Maybe it's because Tailspin has a little bit more of a realist sort of feel in it.
Yeah.
Is Tailspin the Jungle Book asks Red Feather? Yeah, Tailspin is based off of the Jungle Book characters. It features Baloo and Shere Khan primarily, and Louie. It features Louie, and like Conundrum here mentioned, it eventually brings in a character that is based off of Ka. You're saying, Conundrum?
Yeah, the guy. I remember Camp Candy. Actually, it's really good. That was a good cartoon. Very educational as well.
I'm almost thinking that maybe we go ahead and review Onward since Arkham Knight Rider is gone for right now.
Sure.
Sound like a good idea to you?
Yeah.
All right. Let me get things set up here. Actually.
Are we going to go with like we did last time with Onward, review a video by some Dinkleberry?
No. Schaefer Productions, he's not as unrespectable of a movie reviewer as some others that we responded to on this program.
But the last one we did was this guy who was a total Dingleberry. I think his last name was Brooks or something.
You think his name was what?
I think the last name was Brooks or something.
Was what or something?
Brooks. He had like an avatar of a bull.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I gotcha. There's one point in his ranking here in which he
I actually saw the new He-Man series.
Sorry, what?
I saw the new He-Man.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it was.
I'm not the biggest He-Man buff, so I would not know precisely.
I'm just gonna say it was decent.
Wasn't as good as you were thinking or hoping it'd be.
It was not as good as I knew it was not going to be good from the get-go, but I think a lot of the YouTube channels who have a way differing opinion have influenced others to hate the show because it's not done by their standards.
You meaning it wasn't effeminate enough?
No, it wasn't. They were upset about Teela. Character of how Teela was portrayed, the whole bait and switch thing. It's like, what were you expecting? It's the first 5 episodes. They're laying down the groundwork. You can't base it on the first 5 episodes. That's like a pilot right there.
Red Feather says he was a Dingleberry. Yep.
Yeah.
No, Shea Frillas, he does not have as much outrageous hot takes as Brooks. All right, so I think we're going to go ahead and review this first. It's the actual review of Onward for one thing, and also this got released before he released the well, no shit, almost a year before actually. It got released before his Pixar movie ranking. But he has different things to say in the Pixar movie ranking about Onward than he does about the actual main movie review right here. So that's why that we're going to be looking at both. He adds some stuff in his movie ranking. So anyway, let's watch it.
I really didn't feel like reviewing Onward, to be honest. I mean, I got bigger fish to fry. Look at all these upcoming videos I have to work on. Most of these have been on my list for months. Look here, I wrote rank Ferb. I don't even remember what that means. Rank Ferb. It's crazy. I'm a crazy person. But anyway, I saw this movie. I had no interest in.
I gotta say one thing. That whole clip of him sitting with Doofenshmirtz in the background, he definitely sounds a lot like Doofenshmirtz, a younger version of Doofenshmirtz.
Mm-hmm. It fits. It certainly works.
Pixar would surprise me, and this would be an unexpected gem. I didn't think Coco was going to be good, and it was amazing. I didn't think Toy Story 4 was going to be good, and it was great. And yes,
I wouldn't call it great, Toy Story 4, I mean, but I don't hate it as much as some other people within like the Mauler communities, let's say, for example, seem to hate it. My main thing with Toy Story 4 is how they squandered the side characters. They completely botched Buzz, and the Bo Peep's character change just seemed to be like a huge retcon between Toy Story 2 versus Toy Story 4. It just didn't make sense. It just seemed like that they were desperate to make her into a powerful female character already without having any sorts of build up to it. Like, you could have had her be a strong female character, but take your time with it.
Well, I feel like this. You have to know the time gap between Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3. And Toy Story 4, there's a huge time gap. I remember Bo Peep was sold in Toy Story 3, so we never knew what happened to her. At least she didn't turn out to be a villain. But I think that would have been better, actually.
My thing with Toy Story 4 is, you know that flashback that we get at the beginning of the movie of where they're rescuing a toy?
Yeah.
Like, presumably that takes place at least a year after the events of Toy Story 2. And within that year's time, apparently, Bo Peep goes from this emotional, supportive, sweet, and gentle sort of a character that just works as a sort of a yin-yang to Woody, whatever Woody lacks, she fills in that gap, to then being a somewhat of a carbon copy of Woody, but even tougher and better for some reason.
Yeah.
It just was all like, wait, this ain't the same Bo Peep that I watched in the first two Toy Stories. How are you going to sell this off? And how they could have made it work, in my opinion anyways, is if in the flashback they had Bo Peep be her regular self that she was, how she was like in the first two Toy Stories, but going towards the end when she gets taken away, she's like broken down, crying, and she ends up thinking that Woody sort of abandoned her or whatever. And in order to actually survive, she has no choice but to toughen up. And through a whole bunch of knit and grit and, hardships, that's how she becomes tough. She isn't just automatically already tough to begin with.
I more think it would have been great if Bo Peep was the villain.
Maybe there could have been possibilities right there, but I don't know how it could have worked.
That would have been good because it was a character that both Woody and Buzz knew from their past, and she comes back. I think that would have been a lot better.
But females can't be evil these days. Otherwise, you're sexist for portraying them as such. No,
Wander Over Yonder had a great female villain.
What?
Wander Over Yonder, a Disney show, had a great female villain.
Okay. Red Feather in the chat says hashtag not my Bo Peep, right?
Mhm.
A dingleberry on the ass hair of society, says Red Feather. You know what? Allow me to give you a wrench, Red Feather. You're now a moderator of both the live chats of on both my YouTube channels.
Congrats, my friend. You deserve it. That was the most epic burn ever.
And there you are. You have one as well, Conundrum. Coco is very cool. I never saw Toy Story 4 or Onward, but I heard it's good. Onward, I liked honestly better than Toy Story 4, just personally. You're right. Bo Peep should have been disabled and transitioned to a male. Good Lord, no. Anyway.
I didn't think Onward would be good, and it turned out that I was completely right. This is not a very good movie at all. Now, don't get me wrong, this is no Good Dinosaur or Ralph Breaks the Internet. It's not god-awful or anything, but it's probably the most forgettable Pixar film I've ever seen. I mean, at least I remember how awful Good Dinosaur is on a regular basis.
I don't know how you think it's forgettable. I mean, you're able to remember the ending of it very well, and I even remember the ending of it very well. Oh, what's the one movie with the ending of where that a brother who wants to see his dad ends up realizing that his father figure was actually his older brother this whole time, and his older brother is really the one who needs time with his dad so that he can say the goodbye that he never said but should have said? Oh, right. That's Onward. Oh, what a great ending. How can you say that it's forgettable and not memorable, Shafe? By the way, spoiler alert, everybody. Sorry to say. I guess I should have warned you a little bit more ahead of time, Red Feather, but I hope you weren't paying attention right there.
No, I actually saw this movie right after my father passed. This movie, I love this movie because it hit me right in the feels. Me and my older brother actually saw it together.
Not to get too personal, but did you at least get the chance to say goodbye to your dad?
Yeah, I did actually.
All right, good for you. So anyway.
With this film, I'm struggling to even remember what happened a couple hours after seeing it.
Wow. How? It's basically the one and only movie within the Pixar lineup, within the Pixar catalog, that is trying to like be sort of a version of Narnia, so to speak, whilst also having an endearing and dignified father-son sort of relationship built up towards the end. Like, I don't know how you can find this that forgettable.
And it's the first Disney movie where a child's father. Sorry. It's a rare movie that both you have a male character who dies in the family instead of the female. The last one I know of is Lion King.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, it's not exactly shown within the movie of when the time of the movie that takes place as compared to The Lion King. I mean, what about Good Dinosaur, actually? Good Dinosaur has sort of that kind of story going for it.
Yeah.
Where the dad just dies off in the middle of while the movie is taking place. The timeline the movie was taking place.
Yeah.
But anyway.
The premise itself is an incredibly bizarre one, and I think it turned most people off the way it was presented in the trailers. And yeah, I really wish
Not me. Not me. I don't know about you, Conundrum, and I don't know about you, Shafrillas, but the main thing that attracted me to this movie is that, a new idea coming out of Disney and Pixar. Wow. After so many sequels and live-action remakes coming out of Disney and Pixar as of recently, wow, we finally have a new idea coming up here in the production of things. I mean, yeah, sure, the dad legs thing, it might be kind of weird, but I don't care. New ideas! Cool!
I actually liked it because it was interesting, actually. It was a great story. I loved this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I could say Pixar got me emotionally invested in a disembodied pair of legs, and they kind of did at first, but the emotional investment stopped once the quest started because this was not an engaging quest in the slightest. No siree.
It was very basic, but it was somewhat investable. I mean, it's not like it's any Lord of the Rings level sort of quest going on here.
D&D campaigns that were much better written and more engaging than this multi-million-dollar feature film. I have two major problems with the movie, the first of which is that I did not laugh once. This might be a first for Pixar, with the obvious exception of Cars 2. I mean, I smiled when the Manticore lady poisoned someone. That's the closest I got. The movie is startlingly unfunny, and it doesn't have a strong enough emotional core.
What are some funny moments that you found out of the movie, Conundrum? Because I think I could mention a few.
The Manticore was one of them. I actually loved the relationship between the younger brother and the older brother. I love that whole relationship.
The Manticore, some of the moments with Bronco.
Yeah.
There's also the beginning portions with some of the classic Pixar slapstick being presented as the characters are kind of I don't know, a bit bumbling and clumsily knocking stuff over. I mean, it wasn't like that funny, but it tickled me just a little bit.
I like the relationship between the brothers because it reminded me a lot of my relationship between my older brother.
Right.
And that's what really drove me to watching this movie a lot.
I also liked how stylized that the action was. Like, it wasn't anything as good as, say, Incredibles, but comparative to a whole lot of other Pixar movies, the action in this Onward is like above average for a Pixar movie.
I think when somebody watches a Pixar movie, they want something so epic like Toy Story.
Right. Well, Toy Story wasn't even really that strong in the action department. I mean, sure, there was Buzz versus Zurg at one point in Toy Story 2, and there's the chase scene at the beginning, at the end, of Toy Story 1, of when that the toys are trying to jump back onto the truck. But none of the action from any of the Toy Story movies, I thought, reached to the same level as Incredibles or even Onward, for that matter. And Onward, at the end of it, they go fighting a dragon, and they also have their own little car chase scene where they are fighting off the biker pixies or fairies, whatever.
Yeah.
Red Feather says, exactly, finally not a remake, or at least a straight-up remake. Right? Exactly, Red Feather. And she says, aw, Conundrum, blue heart.
Thank you.
Regards of your comment about your dad.
Thank you.
Or an interesting enough world to make up for that, like Coco did. And even Coco was a little funny. It's so weird to come out of a Pixar movie with no comedic takeaways, but that's just the way it is now, I guess. Whatever. My second major issue is that I genuinely couldn't stand the Chris Pratt character.
To be honest, I love that he's using the Gerudo Valley music from Zelda in this.
Right.
Because it kind of fits with this.
Okay, so he goes on about Barley, or what he calls the Chris Pratt character. Like, I do not know what it is with Schaeferless Productions, but he almost seems to have a big old hate boner for Chris Pratt. I do not know why that is. Like, he isn't that explicitly political, Schaef is, but when you go looking at his face, you get sort of the impression that he's a normie, liberal, hipster, perhaps. Like, he's not a full-on hard leftist. Like, he's openly said that he's Christian, Schaef has, but he's one of those left liberal hipster sorts of Christians. So, I don't know. Maybe he thinks that Chris Pratt is, like, somebody who's a little bit too preachy with their right-wing politics or something, and that's, like, making him unconsciously or subconsciously dislike roles that Chris Pratt plays in, or more specifically, the role that he's playing in right here. But nonetheless, I guess we'll just continue.
I think the character of Barley I like because it's like that they both represent how people handle with loss. Barley, he acts so childish. And
he tries to act cocky and not cowardly at anything.
Yeah, but deep inside, he's hiding the fact that he is scared that he lost his father.
Yeah.
The other
I mean,
character acts in a different manner of how you lose your father.
one thing that's explicitly mentioned in this movie, actually, he was too scared to say goodbye to his dad, and after that, he determined that he was never ever going to be scared again in his life, and it just gives off a sort of overconfidence that ends up being his biggest flaw, which ends up being like somewhat of a strength on his part, but also a flaw, ironically enough, at the same time.
Yeah.
And we got talking a little bit earlier about laid back, goofy sort of characters when we were talking about Baloo and Tailspin and Kyle in Last Man Standing.
Yeah.
Barley here is kind of the same in that regard. He's laid back, he's goofy, but when he gets serious, it's like a very, investable, serious moment that makes you go like, holy shit, here we are. That just makes the movie more dynamic than one would almost think at first.
Yeah.
Couldn't stand the Chris Pratt character, whose name I don't remember and do not care to look up. I get that he's supposed to be a screw up, but they take it way too far in a number of ways. There's no reason for him to aggravate a group of pixies. There's no reason for...
Well, he's referring to the one part of where that he has a conversation with a pixie about how they used to have been able to fly and whatnot. He wasn't trying to aggravate the pixies. He was just trying to have conversation, and the pixies are just being a whole bunch of overly irritable assholes. Like, this isn't so much of a character flaw on Barley's part. It's a flaw on the pixies' part, if anything.
The thing is, the pixies were a bunch of dicks.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to go on talking about how Barley is such a crappy driver, like he hasn't paid off a whole bunch of his parking tickets and speeding tickets and all the other tickets that he has in his glove compartment there, or anything else like that, you would have a little bit more of an argument right there, Shafe. But to put the blame on him as far as the Pixies getting aggravated, that's just completely unfair, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
For him or the dad legs to even come with Ian to get gas. He constantly feels like he isn't taking the quest to get their dad back seriously at all, despite how emotionally invested in it his brother is. I actually really enjoyed...
I don't know how to say that. I mean, maybe I can grant the benefit of doubt that there were points of when he acted a little bit too silly, but the ultimate thing with it is that he was serious enough, at least serious enough about trying to get their dad back. I mean, otherwise, why would he be so passionately trying to help his brother to get the staff to a new dragon stone or whatever it's called in order to summon the dad fully?
Ian as a character, and I wished he was paired with a less obnoxious supporting character, because then I might have actually had a good time with the movie. But in addition to that problem, so many plot developments feel forced and contrived to an absurd degree. I remember rolling my eyes at what happened to Chris Pratt's van in particular. Don't get me wrong, there's some fun stuff, like a nice little...
It was cheesy, granted, but I thought it was enjoyable at the same time, especially with that kind of Celtic / rock music that goes playing in the background as he just launches the truck towards the mountain to cause a rock slide to block their way. I mean, it wasn't that bad, Shafe.
Yeah, and the character, and it's not like he's a Chris Pratt character. I think he's more like the Chris Farley type character. So it had some of that Chris Farley type humor with the car scenes.
Chris Farley type character. You talking about in the Cars movies? Or
no, in the car scenes. The car scene, that reminded me a lot of Tommy Boy. When Bronk was driving his car and if you ever seen Tommy Boy, that reminds me a lot of some stuff, like it has that Tommy Boy type flair to it.
All right.
Little dancing scene, all the neat different magic spells Ian uses, and a couple of cool scenic and character designs. But this is honestly kind of a nothing movie until the ending. This is where everything really came together, from the action in the final battle to the emotional resolution. I thought it was really cleverly handled, and it was pretty satisfying from an emotional standpoint. I didn't cry, but I respect the raw power of this film's conclusion nonetheless.
Well, I don't think it's like that much of a tearjerker, but you still get to feeling something in general. I mean, I'm sure that you ended up like cracking a tear with you explaining the timing of when that you watched this movie with your brother Conundrum. But
Yeah, I actually did cry a little.
whether or not you actually shed a tear, you still feel somewhat like a welling up inside of how these brothers handle their situation of who actually gets to see the dad, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, who gets to see him? The one who never got to saw their dad in the first place, or the guy who never got to say goodbye to their dad at all?
Yeah, that is the hardest thing to do. That was a hard choice.
Yep. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
I'm getting a little bit teary-eyed just thinking about it as myself.
This movie's director, Dan Scanlon, previously made Monsters University, which is very much in the same boat as this film. They're both nothing special, but everything does at least come together during the extremely clever ending. I know he based the premise on his own experience growing up without a father, and I think this movie will definitely hit harder if you can relate to that. But there's better works of art that explore that concept. Shout out to the Beetlejuice musical. I can't really give this first draft of a good idea points for only really finding its footing during the ending. If this movie had more time in the oven, it could have been something special, but Pixar is now just another cog in the corporate Disney machine. The fact that a Simpsons short played in front of this movie just kind of proves how impersonal this animation studio has been forced to become. I actually liked the short better than the movie, but the whole point of these shorts was for Pixar to give us a little appetizer before we feasted on the film they made for us. But now Pixar is working hard to meet a corporate quota, and Disney is slapping whatever they can in front of Pixar's movies.
I mean, if you want to complain about corporate quotas, look at all the sequels. Like, generally speaking, at least most of the sequels were coming out of Disney in general, but even Pixar are a little bit more of corporate garbage than what Onward has to speak of.
If you want to know about a corporate quota of sequels, look at Friday the 13th.
Yeah, actually, here's another example. Like, if you ever go watching his Pixar ranking video, he ranks Incredibles 2 a few steps above Onward. Incredibles 2 felt more like just corporate money grabbing than Onward.
Well,
Yet he's calling Onward the corporate money grabbing movie.
I will be honest.
Incredibles 2 is worse in that area than Onward. Sorry, go on, Conundrum.
Well, I'll say this about Incredibles 2. People wanted Incredibles 2.
Yeah, but people wanted Incredibles 2, so... But the end product was a little bit hollow and not fully fleshed out, and the villain was definitely not as good as Syndrome's, to where that it kind of fell flat. They were all like, oh, fresh opportunity for us to get money. So let's finally give the fans their sequel that they wanted to. Something with the name of Incredibles 2, but let's not make it what Incredibles 2 was actually expected to be. They just sort of half-assed it.
I'll bring the perfect example of the corporate cash grab movie. Land Before Time and the Swan Princess.
Although, I don't know if a Swan Princess would fall as much in that category.
There's like 8 Swan Princess movies.
Oh shit! Okay, never mind. I only remember watching the first, second, and third ones, or bits and pieces of the second and third ones.
Yeah,
at least.
the ones after that all became CGI.
And Land Before Time, I will agree that it is, at least mostly anyways, nothing but corporate cash grabbing. What's the name of that one movie reviewer? It's the one that sort of ditzy female movie reviewer that people have very mixed opinions on. I don't want to say Lindsay. And no, I'm not talking about Lindsay Ellis, the nostalgia chick. She is really mixed and controversial. Some other girl. What?
Star Wars girl?
No, not Star Wars girl. I don't hear a whole lot of negative opinions about Star Wars girl. It's some other movie reviewer that that a buddy of Arkham's, Movie Dr. Full, did a response to, and we actually did a response to Movie Dr. Full.
Oh, that girl.
What?
The one who said Padme stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You watched a little highlight clip from Arkham of our live stream when we responded to him, so you know which girl I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. But I'm gonna say the guy who did it also ripped all those Land Before Time movies is actually a good content creator called Bob Show.
Bob Show. You're not talking about Movie Bob, obviously, right?
Bob Show. I'll
Okay.
even put his name in here.
All right. Link me some of his stuff and maybe I'll watch it. I love watching movie reviews. But anyway, the point I was going to make, that one same girl, whoever her name was, did a bit of a ranking of the Land Before Time movies. And in her opinion, there was at least 2 sequels that did Land Before Time a little bit better than the original Don Bluth Land Before Time. She knew that it was going to be a controversial opinion, and it really is a controversial opinion because, first one holds a special place in everybody's hearts, from millennials to Gen Xers even.
Yeah.
Oh, Bob Show.
Yeah.
It's spelled in a weird way. Sheux.
Yeah, he does a lot of like animated movies and stuff for reviews.
The original Land Before Time is the best and always will be. Respectable opinion there, Red Feather. Respectable opinion.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Just for the sake of maintaining tradition. Yeah, it keeps the brand consistent, but it's lost the soul. Speaking of soul, hopefully that'll be good.
Wait. Sorry, what?
The other corporate cash grab movie, Alpha Omega.
Alpha and Omega.
Yeah, Alpha and Omega movies. And you can even say the Ice Age movies.
Oh yeah, Ice Age movies. Alpha and Omega, is that based in the what am I trying to say? Is that based in the Balto world or something?
I truly don't know, actually.
Because for some reason, when I think of Alpha and Omega, I think of Balto for some reason.
Yeah, watch Dumbsville reviews on all the Alpha and Omega movies.
By the way, was Balto a Disney movie or no?
No, Balto was not Disney, actually. In fact, I'll look it up for you, actually.
All right, go ahead.
While we're doing this, okay?
All right. So anyway,
steered us wrong before. But as for this movie, I was not amused, and I recommend just waiting for it to come out on Disney+. Honestly, that's probably where they should have released it in the first place. I'm giving it a 4 out of 10, and I don't anticipate ever having a reason to think about it again. Good night, Tri-State area.
I would call it a 7 out of 10. Onward, anyways. At least a 6 out of 10.
I give it the same thing, a 7. Oh, the Balto was done by Universal Pictures.
Universal Pictures, okay. Was it Steven Spielberg?
Yeah, Amblin Entertainment.
Okay, so it was made by the same company that made We're Back, that dinosaur movie, right?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, there's another piece of competition for Disney in the animation medium.
Yeah. Believe me, Don Bluth Studios, at a time, Ralph Bakshi's Animation Studios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don Bluth was sort of the pioneer of competing against Disney. Like, without Don Bluth, would there ever be a Jeffrey Katzenberg that would have founded DreamWorks? One can never know.
Yeah, because Don Bluth was originally a Disney animator who got jaded with the process of making movies.
Yeah. Jeffrey Katzenberg, kind of same story, if not a little bit more asshole-ish about it.
No, I think Jeffrey Katzenberg made DreamWorks because he got screwed out of becoming head of Disney, and the one who got it was Michael Eisner. Believe me, Katzenberg and Eisner had this bitter rivalry ever since that.
Right. Good. Disney needs competition, says Red Feather. Indeed. Indeed. So here is, we're not going to be like watching the full 56-minute video here. Just going to be watching the part of where that Shafe goes reviewing Onward, because he has a few different things to say about it here to add on top of his previous criticisms of the movie.
Are we going to get the infamous one, the criticism about that one scene that everybody gets all butthurt about?
From Onward?
Yeah, the female cop scene.
Oh, no. I mean, Shafe is LGBT friendly, very LGBT friendly.
Thank God.
Like I said,
I felt like I don't need to deconstruct their whole argument again for the umpteenth time.
Well, like I said a little bit earlier, he's a Christian, but he comes off as a bit of a liberal hipster Christian. So he's not going to like go on about it too much. I mean, he probably at best, or at worst, however you want to look at it, at worst, he probably views homosexuality to be a sin if somebody practices it. But he still thinks it's okay to portray it in movies as compared to no bullshit overthinking about things in that regard.
This guy, what's his name again?
Shaferless Productions.
Shaferless Productions, he's more nuanced.
Indeed.
I wouldn't say liberal, more nuanced.
Well, no, you go watching his stuff, you get the heavy impression that he might be a bit of a leftist, just at least a center leftist, or maybe a centrist. I don't know. I haven't heard him speak a whole lot of political opinions. I just get a heavy impression, especially by his millennial hipster accent, that he might be somebody who votes Democrat more times than Republican. I mean, it's not a big deal. I still love the shit out of his movie reviews, so much that I occasionally revisit the Pixar movie ranking and the DreamWorks movie ranking as well. Mm-hmm. But it still is worth mentioning. It can't help but be noticed that he is probably a little bit of a lefty.
Nice.
Worthwhile. Even though now I'm never watching it again. I swear. Onward still kind of blows, not gonna lie. I reviewed it back when it came out, and not much has changed upon rewatch. The most aggravating thing about this movie is that it would have been significantly better if the Barley character was voiced by anyone. Literally anyone other than Chris Pratt. Well, I guess that's not true. It could have been worse. It could have been voiced by James Corden.
Like I said, big ol' hate boner for Chris Pratt. Literally anyone besides Chris Pratt, except for maybe James Corden.
I will say this. It's like how people in certain animation community fan base, let's say somebody voiced a character you know from a show for many years.
Yeah. Go on.
And now he's retired and a new character. And he sounds pretty similar, but you don't like him and you just hate every works he's in because of that. I view that's how he views with Chris Pratt.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Chris Pratt, he played in the Jurassic World, like both of them, and those are like not real good in movies, but it's all like
I love Guardians of the Galaxy.
What?
I love them in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. That's Guardians of the Galaxy is good, but I guess was the point that you're trying to make is that you think that Chris Pratt is a little bit too tainted with Jurassic World, so therefore that's why that Shafe doesn't like him so much?
Yeah, that's what I think. It's like Jurassic World, the Jurassic Park franchise. Don't blame Chris Pratt. Blame the writers.
I gotcha. So, anyway, let's finish this up. We are about an hour and a half here. We might just shut off this live stream as soon as we are done with this portion right here.
Roll, my Felicia.
Well, whatever. It's still pretty bad how it is now. There's just this smugness to his voice, this obnoxiousness that makes him so unpleasant to watch and listen to.
As far as obnoxiousness goes, that's part of the Barley character. that he's overconfident, and it just sort of filters through to be a form of obnoxiousness. And you say smugness. What do you mean by smugness? Like, how do you see smugness? I personally don't see smugness when I look at the Barley character or when I look at any role that Chris Pratt really plays. Or at least generally speaking, anyways, I don't see a very big smugness. I just see a flyboy or hotshot sort of cockiness. And that is really what they were trying to go for with Barley. It's not smugness, it's overconfidence. Two different things.
What I have to see with the Barley character is his confidence is more of a mask for his emotions. And I like that with the character because that's something we do in real life.
Right. Imagine Biden trying to do voice acting, says Red Feather. Wait, there's a new Cars movie? I don't think that's what anyone was saying earlier. There was a movie with that was centered around cars that had Chris Farley starring in it that Conundrum was talking about a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I was talking about Tommy Boy.
Yeah, no, there's only 3 Cars movies. The last one, Cars 3, I think was released in 2015, 16, or something like that. Might have been 2017.
Yeah.
Well, very quickly, what do you think about the Cars trilogy? Like, how would you rank them?
1 was good. 2 was 3 was a decent send-off.
I thought 3 was the best of them all, personally.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same. Well, I don't know. I agree with Shea Frilla's ranking of those 3 movies when he goes throughout ranking all the Pixar movies. He said he puts like Cars 2 at the very bottom of the barrel, actually. Like, it says that they're even worse than Shrek the Third and Turbo from DreamWorks. That's how bad he thinks it is. And then he puts Cars 1 is kind of at the bottom as well, but still a bit better than Cars 2 and Brave and Good Dinosaur. And then Cars 3 comes up somewhere in this area right here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I never saw Cars 3, says Red Feather. Okay,
Watch
yeah.
Watch it. It's really good.
Yeah. It's like I guess that's the biggest reason why I connect with it so well. Is because I've grown up and I have a little bit more of a mature taste. In Cars 3, it just felt more like a character analysis than an actual fun, dumb kids movie, you know?
Yeah.
Although there are some fun moments in it. Like, I really like the demolition derby scene in that movie. That was a lot of fun to watch.
I think Cars 3 was like, who was Lightning McQueen?
Yeah.
I like Tom Holland's performance and character enough, but they pair him with this smug-ass Star-Lord Dino Wrangler asshole, and I just can't get emotionally invested. I just can't. I tried.
Well, you do you, but nobody sees it. Not everybody sees it the same way, Shafe.
Picturing this character with Jack Black's voice, and it was a million times better.
Hey, how's it going?
Obviously,
I don't know.
I would say it would have been interesting with Jack Black's voice, but I think Chris Pratt did a great job portraying the character.
Yeah. Imagine Poe playing in this movie. Yeah. But I even if one was to come off with the opinion that Chris Pratt is not exactly a good voice for Barley, I just think that Schaefer really puts too much stock in him as far as how much he's a drag on this whole movie right here.
You know something? It reminds me a lot of Mr. Enter's hatred of modern SpongeBob.
Modern SpongeBob?
Yes.
Like, how much stock... okay, like, explain how it parallels with Shafe's opinion of Onward.
Because the way Enter really hated post-movie SpongeBob to the point that fans actually sent death threats to Nickelodeon. But I'm not saying his fan base would do that, because I think his fan base are more level-headed, Shaperless Productions. But you're borderlining on that Mr. Enter type of hatred.
Okay. So Mr. Enter reviews a SpongeBob movie, and then after that, fans of or
That Mr. Enter used to like the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob. After the SpongeBob movie came out and Steven Hillenburg left, the writing for the show got really bad. And Mr.
Okay.
Enter hated the new writers to a point.
well, in that case, I don't think it's really that I don't think it's really that comparable, honestly, because it's not like Shafe is like saying that the writing is absolute shit, and same with that Mr. Enter saying the writing is absolute shit in SpongeBob. It's the voice acting and one character, that being Barley. I thought you was trying to say that Mr. Enter thinks that there is one character in a movie that he puts too much stock into to, hinge his entire opinion of the movie on. But oh well.
Yeah.
Lightning McQueen was pretty arrogant, just like Matthew McConaughey, says Red Feather in the chat. I'm sure people on the team also like Jack Black as the voice, but obviously he didn't get the part. Yeah. Wonder how those board meetings were for the creation of Onward.
The way Barley is written would also need to be tweaked, and maybe the idea that he's Ian's true father figure should have been built up more if the movie wanted that to be its focus. But overall, yeah, it's mainly the...
It could have been better, the build-up, but it wasn't like it came out of absolutely nowhere. There was some build-up, especially with the driving lessons and the the playing catch, for example.
The bike riding scene.
What?
The scene of bike riding Ian between Ian and Barley with the bike. That scene in particular.
Oh yeah, well, this did not get shown in the movie until like going towards the end. I was trying to refer to moments that were happening in the middle and beginning of the movie when there wasn't so many flashbacks. The things that were actually happening in the timeline that the movie was trying to portray.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Figure should have been built up more if the movie wanted that to be its focus. But overall, yeah, it's mainly the voice acting that kind of sinks this character for me. It doesn't feel genuine. I don't feel any emotions for these brothers or this stupid ass van or even the dad legs. It's just too weird of a concept to get invested in. Speaking of concepts, the idea of a fantasy world that gradually forgot about magic and needs to rediscover it is cool, but they don't do anything interesting with it. Every character they come across that stopped adventuring or stopped using their wings or whatever just regains their magical attitudes or abilities accidentally after like 5 minutes of interaction with the main characters. It's
fair bit of criticism, but
and that scene was funny. The fairy eating a pixie stick.
My throat is kind of dry. I'm gonna grab a water bottle.
That was one of. Now you said what parts I love was funny was the biker eating the pixie stick. So.
All right. Well, so, were you trying to say something to me, or was he just speaking in general?
Yeah, you said there was what parts I found funny. That part I found funny. The pixie eating the pixie stick.
Oh. Real dad joke sort of pun right there. Yeah, I guess. The thing that I was going to mention, though, is that I don't know. I don't think I have any real disagreements. I think that's the fairest bit of criticism that Shafe has towards this movie, is that this movie doesn't really exploit as much as it could have the idea of magical creatures losing their magical abilities through the years. It isn't as well paced as it could have been. But then again, the movie wasn't about it wasn't about creatures gaining back their magical abilities. It was more about the journey that these two brothers go on to try and figure out how they're going to handle their relationship with their dad and their relationship with each other, for that matter.
It's repetitive and lame. The movie has a handful of scenes that work, like the crossing the bridge scene. The final battle and emotional resolution especially are really, really strong. I feel like it almost made up for the rest of the movie's mediocrity, and it's really the only reason that I have it ranked above Cars. Lastly, while I'm glad a ton of people like this movie, I hated getting comments like, "You obviously never had a brother. If you did, you would actually like the movie." Shut up. I went to see this with my brother and we both didn't like it. Like, I relate to Ian enough. I'm introverted and had trouble inviting people to stuff. I had the biggest fear of merging onto the highway for the longest time. That's something I've never seen replicated in a movie before until this one. So that's cool. It does not mean I have to like the movie. Relating to a movie and seeing myself in it does not automatically make it good. Lady Bird is not one of my favorite movies just because it's immensely relatable to my life, but because it's got incredible writing, acting, pacing, and editing on top of that.
I don't have any real complaints about that. Do you have anything to say?
He brings a valid point. I'll give him that. Because there is movies that I don't like that a lot of people like and tell me I do not relate to it, and I do relate to it, but I do not like it.
Why would you feel emotions for a van? Asks Red Feather. LOL. I think it was more done for goofy laughs than anything else, the whole investment in the van. Though I will say that if it was better developed or whatever, that the whole thing about the van could have been something about as investable as a captain being overly attached to its ship, like Jack Sparrow overly attached to the Black Pearl, for example.
I think why he was why he was attached to his van, that was his freedom. Probably.
That was his what?
Freedom.
Yeah.
Basically, when you get your first car, I know it may not be with you, that car is like your baby. That you earned that car. You got that car. It's like you put maintenance to it, and if the car dies, you get really emotional when that car dies.
You know, what you go mentioning that, the way that this movie could have tapped into that a little bit better is if they shown a scene or two of Barley trying to do, I don't know, change up the oil or do an upgrade. I mean, I know that there's one point in which that he says I upgraded the car in this way, but they don't actually show him in the process of doing that. So it's not like the time was actually invested into us seeing how invested Barley is into his van. It's just set up like that, like we're supposed to know it.
And to be honest, they should
buy it already.
I'll be honest, they should have seen that van, the memories that were in that van.
Right. Are pixie sticks made of pixies in the movie? Asks Red Feather. No, I think the funny thing that Conundrum was pointing out was how it's a big old pun. Play on words. Pixie eating a pixie stick, or eating pixie dust, pixie sugar, whatever from a pixie stick.
That's what it is, actually.
Oh, okay. I have to watch this movie, says Red Feather. Yeah, indeed. I highly recommend, although we kind of spoiled it for you, but I'm sure that once you see it unfold in the movie, it will still be all like, holy shit, what a decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
You love Onward because it's immensely relatable to your own life. That is awesome. I'm so happy it exists for that reason alone. But I don't rate a movie's quality solely on relatability. And this is not the last time I will heavily relate to a Pixar movie despite not really liking it that much. With that said, let's keep going, shall we?
All right, so that was pretty much it. Yeah, he ranks at number 18, Incredibles 2. So yeah. Shapefull's Productions, don't hate him. I just found that part of this ranking video. In fact, I actually overall liked the ranking video here because I agree with most of his opinions. He even gave me a little bit of a new perspective on Toy Story 4. Like when I left Toy Story 4, I thought that I was definitely not going to like it, but Shafe kind of put a little bit more perspective as to how one could like the new character arc that they're trying to give Woody in Toy Story 4. That's probably the only thing in which Toy Story 4 shows any quality aside from the big upgrade in the animation department. Is the character arc of Woody. Like originally in Toy Story 1, he was teaching Buzz actually that you're a child's plaything. Your purpose in life is to be entertaining a child. And in Toy Story 2 and 3, he needs to learn how to relearn that sort of aspect when he looks like that he's about to lose that aspect. Like in Toy Story 2, he's about to lose that aspect by thinking it's better for him to go off to a museum. In Toy Story 3, he thinks it's better off for him to be a knick-knack for Andy for, throughout his adulthood and whatnot. But instead, in Toy Story 4, he ultimately gets ditched and abandoned by Bonnie because kids can be kind of careless with toys sometimes to the point where they forget about toys or they are very little played with. So Woody has that sort of abandonment syndrome, and to fill in that gap, he goes at reattaching himself with his girlfriend, that being Bo Peep. Now, I still don't that much find it likable, the retcon in Bo Peep's personality, but Bo Peep, either way, is still a quintessential and key factor in Woody's new character arc. Like, I know that all the people in the Mauler fan base, they like to point out how Toy Story 4 is the anti-Toy Story movie and how that is teaching a toy how that you don't always have to be a child's plaything, that sometimes you can be just your own person, be your own toy, if you will. But all the same, that's also why that the movie is has any sort of quality to it, is that it takes it in a kind of a smooth and believable fashion. But that said, there's a whole lot of other flaws with the Toy Story 4 movie, and I think that Shafe kind of recognizes it as well. So for that, I think that this movie is well earned, and also the other opinions he has to say about the movie.
Yeah, and the thing is, not to knock on Mauler, I think Mauler has a lot of bad takes.
Yeah, like some of his takes about Mandalorian can be kind of ridiculous. He and the rest of his podcast of co-hosts.
Yeah.
Like they say that Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, he has no character. And I'm just thinking to myself, really? I think the idea that he was originally a hard-ass, a soulless hard-ass that sort of gets his own person actually tapped into when he meets this child that is abandoned and was assigned to kill, that he finds a relatability to the kid, to Grogu, or Baby Yoda, as we called him for the longest time, because of the fact that his own past is sort of relatable in that aspect. So he's thinking to himself, I don't want this child to suffer the same way that I did in my childhood. So therefore, I'm going to protect this child with my life. A lot of his personality does hinge on Grogu, but all the same, there's still a little bit of personality there.
Yeah. And when you don't see that in the equation, you don't truly understand the series.
Yeah. I mean, would it have been... I mean, what do all the people in the Mauler fan base and Mauler himself want? Do they want to see it shown on whether or not that Din Djarin, he likes Twi'lek strip dancing, or likes to play this, that, or the other sort of Star Wars universe-based game?
Yeah.
A game that takes place and is played in the Star Wars universe. I mean,
yes.
Does he like to play cars? What is his favorite type of land speeder? Like, what do you mean that you don't think there's any character to Din Djarin? It doesn't make sense.
I think there is a character arc to Din Djarin. The fact that he values his honor more than anything.
Oh, it's okay. You didn't spoil anything, says Red Feather. Okay, well, still go and check it out when you can. If not on Disney Plus, at least try to find somewhere that you can rent the movie. It's well worth it.
I'll say this about the character of Din Djarin. I like the fact he has his code, and I love that about the character.
Mm-hmm.
His honor.
Yep.
That the fact he would never take his mask off until the very end, because that was part engraved in Mandalore culture.
Right.
And the fact that even when the scene where the robot took his mask off, I liked how that was portrayed. The robot said, I know in your culture it's bad to take off your mask, but I'm a robot. So I do not count in a sense.
All right. Without any sort of other meandering to go about, I think this might be where we end it, folks. Yeah, not a very exciting episode. I know it's not as okay. It's not as exciting or witty as our response to No Bullshit, or even our response to that one guy who did a very bad review of Mortal Kombat 2021 when I was teaming up with Arkham Knight Rider on that one. Not as witty as our response to Black Critic Guy on Cuties, but all the same, it was a good time nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we're going to end it. I thought Conundrum said he liked when he took his pants off, not mask.
Nah, I don't swing that way.
Right. So anyway, for all of y'all who have watched while we were on air and all of y'all who will watch in the future, thank you for tuning in. And I am Zach of Dark Con Entertainment. Hope to see y'all later. Good night and God bless.